Beowolf, an Anglo-Saxon epic poem. Aim: first, to learn the story of Beowulf. Second, to learn about Britain at time the story was told. Success criteria: I can retell the main events in Beowulf. I can explain what a legend is. I can explain what an epic poem is, and I know two facts about Britain at the time of Beowulf. An epic poem. Beowulf is a famous epic poem. Epic means a very long poem about heroes and warriors. Beowulf is one of the first recorded stories we have in Britain, and it was written in Old English. Beowulf is the hero of a Scandinavian tribe, the Geats, and the poem tells of his battle with a monster called Grendel. Other famous epic poems are the Song of Hiawatha of Gilgamesh and the Iliad.
Beowulf. The story of Beowulf, first told around 880, it tells of events around 2000 years before that. It wasn't written down back then. Instead, the story was passed down orally by storytellers. There is one surviving manuscript in the British Museum. Experts believe it is around 1000 years old. Old English, the language spoken by the Anglo-Saxons, was very different to the English we speak today. And now let us proceed to the characters and places. Beowulf, the hero of the story from Geatland. Hrothgar, the king of Denmark. Grendel, a monster believed to be a descendant of Cain or Cain. And Grendel's mother, a hag who lives in a swamp. Wilolf, a young kinsman of Beowulf. Denmark, where the Danes live. Geatland, where the Gills live. And lastly, Herod, Hrothgar's hall.
Hrothgar builds Harad. This story began when the king of the Danes, Hrothgar, builds a mid-hole. He called the hole Harad, meaning heart. The attacks of Grendel. Once Harad was built, King Hrothgar and his people enjoyed feasts and celebrations there. The hall was filled with the sound sights and smell of happy gatherings. Grendel, a monster who lived nearby, despised the noise from these celebrations. One night, he decided to attack the hall, killing and devouring 30 of Hrothgar's warriors. Harad lies silent. After Grendel's attack, King Hrothgar and the Danes were terrified of Grendel. The celebrations and feast at Harad came to an end. The Danes lived in fear of Grendel for over 12 years. During that time, the people abandoned Harad and lived quietly in their homes.
Beowulf traveled to Denmark. Eventually, news traveled over the water to the Greats, where the young warrior Beowulf heard of King Hrothgar's plight. He sailed to Denmark to offer help. King Hrothgar was grateful for Beowulf's help and agreed to hold another feast in Herod. After the feast, Beowulf stayed in the great hall while all the Danes went back to their homes.
Beowulf's first battle. Grendel was furious about the feast and attacked Herod. Beowulf, pretending to be asleep, leapt up and fought Grendel. His men drew their swords, but Grendel's skin was so tall that they could not first it. After a long battle, Beowulf, using no weapons, finally managed to defeat Grendel by tearing off his arm. Grendel fled to his home in the marshes and died.
Beowulf's second battle. After hearing that Grendel had been killed, Hrothgar and his Danes returned to Heriot. They ate and slept in the hall once again, finally feeling safe. However, Grendel's mother was angry that her son had been killed and attacked Heriot. She killed one of Hrothgar's best warriors before escaping. Beowulf and his men tracked her to her lair below a lake. One of his men gave him his sword to fight her, but it was useless. Instead, he took her own sword from her and cut off her head with it. Her poisonous blood dissolved the weapon. Beowulf returned to Heriot triumphant. Beowulf returns home. Hrothgar was overjoyed when Beowulf returned to Heriot. He declared Beowulf a hero and gave him many gifts, including his family name, sword. He thanked Beowulf for his help and told him they would be always be friends. Before he returned to Great Land, Hrothgar warned Beowulf about the dangers of pride and fame. Beowulf, king of the Geats. Many years later, Beowulf became the king of his people, the Geats. He reigned for a long time and was well liked by his people because he was a good king. 50 years after Beowulf killed Grendel's mother, one of King Beowulf's servants stole a golden cup from a dragon slayer. The dragon was furious and left its cave, burning everything in its path.
Beowulf's third battle. Beowulf told his warriors that he would fight the dragon alone and they were to wait for him. By now an old man, Beowulf quickly found himself outmatched and overpowered by the dragon. Frightened, all but one of his warriors ran to hide in the forest nearby. The one who remained was named Wiglaf, and he came to Beowulf's aid. They defeated the dragon together, but not before Beowulf was fatally wounded. Beowulf's funeral. The kids burned Beowulf on a huge funeral pyre, and he was greatly mourned. His people didn't know who would protect them with Beowulf's gun. To honor their great king, they built a barrow which could be seen from the sea in his memory. He would bury with gold and treasures given to him by Hrothgar. For the glossary, we have the word barrow, a small hill or tumulus built over a burial chamber. Epic, a very long tale along legendary hero. The spice, to dislike a lot. Devour, to eat something quickly and eagerly. Funeral pyre, a pile of wood for burning the bodies of the dead. Heirloom, an object passed down through the generations of a family. Lair, an underground hiding place. Manuscript, an old handwritten book. And Mid Hall, a large hall or palace for Scandinavian tribes.